So with the latest controversy of Konami removing PT from PlayStation Network, I wanted to take a little moment here and talk about digital purchases and digital storefronts in general, and how they're not really what we have been told for years that they were supposed to be. You have companies like Activision removing all the digital copies of their James Bond games, like Quantum of Solace and GoldenEye, as well as Raven Software's Wolfenstein just disappearing out of nowhere, and now being the only Wolfenstein game not available on Steam. You have stuff like Good Old Games losing Fallout and giving it out for free as quickly as they possibly could. You have Marvel games like Deadpool, Spider-Man, and Marvel's Capcom being removed from Xbox Live, just out of nowhere. Rock Band DLC packs going away, and Rock Band iOS being taken down. Sega has taken down games like Project 575 on iOS, Outrun Online Arcade, Sega Rally Arcade, and Afterburner Climax. And countless older titles are disappearing off the Virtual Console every year, despite this being meant to be an archive for older games. Even Donkey Kong Country, a game published and owned by Nintendo, was taken off, although it did come back later, so this is at least that. And then you have weird things like depatching of certain games, like when Rockstar updated, so to say, or patched Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on Steam to remove music tracks and resolution options to make it more like the mobile version, even though when you bought the game on Steam, when you used the money for that game, the copy you bought came with more music than it now has because of automatic updates. And it's just wrong in so many ways, because it basically means that you as a customer do not actually have ownership of your own game. There's also, of course, the problem of a bunch of digital copies never going down in prices because publishers don't care. Konami himself being guilty of this, like Silent Hill Homecoming on Steam always being retail price for a pretty shoddy port that really could do with a pretty low price at this point. And a ton of games that publishers don't just even bother putting out to audiences, despite there being easy ways for them to do so. Like Blizzard not even acknowledging the fact that they made The Lost Vikings 2 on their website anymore, even though the first game is there and available to play. But even in the cases of games being removed, there's always been one response given back to us, and that's the fact that if you bought the game, you could still re-download it. You still have the ability to, if your account had once purchased the game, or the console in case you're Nintendo, because Nintendo basically understands online accounts as much as ICQ did back in 1998. And while that reeks of the same problem, it's not as bad as what Konami did with PT. Now, if you don't know what happened with PT, allow me to sort of give you the outline here. PT was the playable teaser for a new Silent Hill game by Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro, and it was going to star Norman Reedus, famous from series like The Walking Dead. It was a pretty big deal when it was revealed, because it was just this big surprise out of nowhere, with three very prominent names all bonding together for this title in a series that a lot of people felt needed rescue. And now, in May 2015, the game is no longer available for download. PT has now been removed from the PlayStation Store, and it cannot even be re-downloaded if you previously owned it. Now, PT differs from a lot of the other games by not being a purchasable game. It was a free download. And of course, it was also not even a full game. It was a pitch demo that the audience got to play early for some reason. With the way it is now, PT will eventually just become the kind of game that we'd write creepypasta urban legends about, like Killswitch or Polybius, except it was actually real at one point. The closest comparison I can think of would be Ultima: Escape from Mount Rash, a game that is super rare today because all known copies were tossed off a cliff into the ocean. Konami is basically trying to bury the trail of PT ever existing because of Silent Hills being cancelled. And they are basically succeeding. One day all PS4s that currently have a functioning non-PS Plus version of PT on its hard drive will be gone in some way. If you ever need to switch hard drives, or if your PS4 crashes, then you will never ever have the ability to play PT again. Which really begs the question, why did Konami put out PT in the first place? Although that could be a completely different video in and of itself. But more importantly, what PT shows is that the digital future we've been told to get ready for over many years now is something that the publishers themselves were never prepared for. If we actually want a digital-only future, which we have been pushed into thinking we want for years now. We need permanent archiving of games, easy availability of every game releasing, and a guarantee that if we once got it, we will have it forever. If we don't have all those three things, then there's never any reason to go digital over physical. Because, well, discs and cartridges will break, at least they won't be ripped away from us by the creators. These days you buy physical games, and even then you need to activate them with digital codes. I remember the first time I bought a PC game and it came with a disc and a Steam code in order to play it. One day I might not be able to play that game even though I bought a physical copy of it, because a publisher might decide that it wants to pull it from Steam. And a publisher should not have the power to take away a game from you that they have already given or sold to you. I also think they should not have the power to actually say no more people should be able to get this game. Not as long as they're pushing for a digital future. Because the digital future we were promised was a future in which every game put out would be easily available at all times for everyone at a reasonable price. And none of that is true. The digital future we're aiming towards and the digital reality we're living in right now is a mess. It's broken. It doesn't work. And it seems no publisher is willing to even try and push it in the right direction. Why do I have to buy a game on the Virtual Console multiple times? If I bought an NES game on the 3DS, why do I have to buy it again on the Wii U? Publishers will take any chance they can to rip games away from us, and console manufacturers will take any chance they can to rip away backwards compatibility in the name of making the consoles cheaper, which is kind of pointless if we have to buy all the same games again. The digital future we have right now is a joke. And I want the digital future to be something better because I believe in it. As much as I love collecting physical copies of games, I love the fact that I can go on Steam and play Final Fantasy III. I can go on GOG and download Ys 6. All of that is great. And it's wonderful. But when it's tied to the risk of losing a possibility of expanding a user base, especially when so many games today are online or multiplayer focused, well, then it's not worth it. Then we might as well just go back to the discs and cartridges from before. Because at least then we knew what we got. This is Andrea Ritsu saying be there or be square, and being there is being here. Bye.